I got him. By the way, I love the 80s. What is up, everybody? Random Man here, bringing you my review for Atomic Blonde. Based on the graphic novel titled The Coldest City, the plot basically follows a spy played by Charlize Theron who has to find a list of double agents who are being smuggled into the West on the eve of the collapse of the Berlin Wall in 1989. Going into this movie, I was looking forward to it, as it looked like it had Charlize Theron in another kick-ass looking role after she impressed us all in Mad Max Fury Road, giving a stunning action performance there. This movie is also directed by David Leitch, who was the co-director on the original John Wick film. By the way, I just saw John Wick and John Wick Chapter 2 for the first time recently, and I really enjoyed both of them. Some of the best action films I've seen of recent memory. Leitch co-directed the original with Chad Stahelski. Chad Stahelski went on to direct Chapter 2 solo, and Leitch went on to do this film. With the cast and their performances, at the center of it all is our titular Atomic Blonde herself, Charlize Theron. Simply put, she is excellent in this movie, not only as the mysteriously intriguing MI6 agent slash spy herself, but also as the action heroine that we would expect her to be in this movie, as she holds her own in the action sequences of this film. I would favorably compare her to being like a female John Wick or a female Jason Bourne. Even though she's not technically like those characters 100%, like Keanu Reeves and Matt Damon as their respective roles, Theron is able to show off a lot of flair in how she fights. Other notable players include James McAvoy as an eccentric contact who becomes an ally to Charlize Theron's character. He's outstanding in that he provides a lot of the comic relief for this movie, but he does have a couple action sequences here and there as well too, and McAvoy just proves how much range he has. Sofia Boutella, who has impressed me immensely with her action turns in films such as Kingsman: The Secret Service and Star Trek Beyond, plays a French contact here whom Theron's character interacts with, and Boutella doesn't have much in the way of action in this movie. She is woefully underused for that reason alone. But I enjoyed Boutella's screen presence in this film nevertheless, as her and Charlize are beautiful ladies, and there is this one particular scene in the movie where they both get involved with each other pretty closely, and it's the best scene in the movie, and it's worth the price of admission alone. And we also have John Goodman as a CIA agent, Toby Jones as an MI6 supervisor to Theron's character. Even Bill Skarsgård shows up here and there in this film. No matter what role, I think everyone here is well portrayed. The writing in this movie is interesting from the setup, as it is a period piece spy espionage type of action thriller, and it's not necessarily an action thriller in a similar vein to the Mission Impossible movies or the Jason Bourne films. For one thing, Atomic Blonde is more brutal than those films on an action front, as this movie is rated R, but also in what it does in choosing its structure early on. From the get-go, we see Theron's character already having the shit beaten out of her, and she's recounting to the characters played by John Goodman and Toby Jones as to what has happened up until that point. To me, I am not always a big fan of that approach to movies where it begins at the end and the whole movie is essentially the main character recounting what has happened to get that person there. Yet, for the most part, there are some twists and turns that do happen in the movie that keep it at least intriguing to let you see what Theron's character got involved with, but it also at the same time got a bit complicated as to what was going on once she goes with McAvoy's character, Boutella's character, and there was even some exposition moments sprinkled in between throughout this film, and that made the film a little confusing to follow at times. Yet in between the pivotal story points, are the action sequences that do make this film tick, along with its exuding style. Like what he did with co-directing the original John Wick film with Chad Stahelski, David Leitch was able to bring on some more well-choreographed action with Theron being involved. I could tell Theron was on top of her game, doing her own stunts in this movie, along with the other stunt personnel of this film, especially during the standout sequence of the movie that takes place in an apartment building with a spiraling staircase and hallway, where it is shot to look like it is done in one take for about 5 minutes or so straight, and it was absolutely jaw-dropping to see. The art direction / production design also made this movie really pop in watching it all the way through. I have to give a mention to the costumes or outfits that Charlize Theron's character wears in this film. I have no keen sense of fashion, but I did dig the hell out of what Theron was wearing and blending in to this really gritty universe, and it actually looking like the coldest city after the original source material's title. Also, just this movie looking like it had a tint or shade of blue throughout really did back up it taking place in Berlin, Germany, just days before the fall of the Berlin Wall. Also adding on to this movie's style is the music. I did enjoy the original score composed by Tyler Bates, but since this movie does take place in the 1980s once again, the use of popular songs from that decade stood out more. I'm not going to say that the use of popular songs was as masterful as Baby Driver in how music was its own character in that movie, but I'm gonna say that the use of popular songs here was a lot better handled than in Suicide Squad, where in that film it was used obnoxiously, cutting in and out, and just not adding to the flow of the narrative. Atomic Blonde handled it much better. The cinematography in this movie is stellar, as is the editing, coupling it all together to make the action sequences really satisfying to watch. Once again, the pacing was for the most part tightly handled. The movie ran at a little under 2 hours, and I only felt the running time towards the end, maybe around the final 20 minutes, because the conclusion really was trying to wrap itself up really cleanly, and I felt like, is the movie gonna end here? Is the movie gonna end here? It just went on a little too long at that point, but the movie did end with the use of the song Under Pressure from David Bowie and Queen, so if a movie ends like that, in my book, it does get an automatic like. All in all, I will say that Atomic Blonde is a cool and nice little action film. Just it being a fantastic showcase for Charlize Theron being such a badass in this movie is really satisfying to say the least. Yeah, the story could have been tightened up a little more because it uses a lot of the same spy tropes that we've seen in the past, contrivances in between, and the narrative not being entirely coherent. Hell, we don't even learn that much more about Theron's character by the end. But what complements this movie all together is its action and style once again, in turn making this an enjoyable viewing experience. I'm not saying this is one of the very best action movies to come out of recent memory. I would say both John Wick movies are a level above Atomic Blonde, but I'm still saying that this film is worth the watch for how well shot and well choreographed its action sequences are, particularly the apartment scene and Theron and Butella's characters together. That's all I'm gonna say. For these reasons, I recommend it. My final verdict for Atomic Blonde is 3.5 out of 5 stars. Thank you all, as always, for watching. Be sure to like this video, comment on what you thought of Atomic Blonde, subscribe to my channel for more, and I'll catch you on the next movie review.